This is Volume 6 in Bad Movie Fights versus Good Movie Fights. In Volume 5, we learned that a good fight should have great sound effects. Brutality can enhance a fight scene, and having flying spin kicks are better in threes. Anything with shaky cam is a major no-no. Anything with choppy editing to cover up actors who can't fight is a major no-no. And remember, no gunfights allowed.
No! Jesus, you were gonna kill that guy!
Of course, I'm a Terminator.
So, let's do this.
Let's start off with a good fight. This scene is from the film 300. Now, it should be said, subjectively, 300 is Zack Snyder's best piece of work. And when this scene first hit the theaters, it was groundbreaking. 300 is based on a graphic novel by Frank Miller, and you can see the comic book influences all over this film. There are many great fighting scenes and stunning moments, but this scene is just fantastic. It is balletic and breathtaking. Upon a glance, it may seem like the technique here is just fully CGI.
The original plan for the Crazy Horse shot included 2 cameras mounted above pointing down and 1 mounted normally pointing forward, seen here. But there was an issue with the focus that required them to find another solution. Instead of the Crazy Horse inspired rig, they simply mounted 3 Arriflex 435 ES cameras as close together as possible, all pointing forward. Each camera would use a different focal length lens, shooting 3 shot sizes of the same take.
We zoom in and out between the 3 cameras. That's how you get this single take.
The only thing that is CGI in this shot is the blood and a few composites. The film is truly a masterwork from Snyder, who, at his best, knows how to nail a fight sequence perfectly. In this film, he perfectly found the balance between slow motion and spectacle. 300 is a brave piece of filmmaking with a very tight narrative.
This is Sparta!
It kicked off a series of wannabe films for a decade after its release.
Steady your hearts. Look deep into your souls.
And kind of ended with this film.
Come, Apophis!
Now, no one can deny that Gerard Butler is a guilty pleasure actor. His choices of movies over recent years have been questionable, although Plane was pretty good, and if you've not seen Den of Thieves, you're really missing out.
Moving!
But this film was universally planned upon release, and this action scene is a microcosm as to why. Now, there are 2 fight scenes happening at once here, which should be incredible. However, neither are good. Now, the charm of 300 is the comic book feeling the compositions have. This doesn't feel like a comic book. This is just messy. The CGI is cutscene video game level. The sets feel like cardboard. And this second fight is just, well, embarrassing.
By the way, Apophis is going to eat the land of the dead.
The cuts are pretty much on impact, which is, as we've learned in previous volumes, probably means that the actors don't know how to fight, and how fitting that the scene should end with one of the fighters falling through fire to a certain death. Much like this film.
Who picked the wrong god now?
Now, fantasy can be a hard genre to nail.
You're alive. Too bad you will die.
Let the blood rain from the sky!
Not sure what genre this is. Surely it's fantasy. But one show that got it right, well, for one season at least, was The Witcher. And this fight is a great reason why. So at this point, once a man deflects a crossbow, it's probably a good time to get out of the fight. There's so many impressive things about this fight. The question is where to begin. Well, firstly, how about the swordplay from Henry Cavill? It's incredible. He apparently spent hours upon hours learning how to wield a sword. And it shows. Next thing is, as I said, fantasy is a hard thing to get right. But when it's done well, it's stunning. And The Witcher was originally a book, then a comic book series, then a game, and eventually a Netflix series. Henry Cavill is a bit of a nerd at heart.
I was wondering what the geekiest thing in your house was. I mean, aside from your gaming rig.
Geekiest thing would have to be my Warhammer stuff.
We're talking
Hands
Games
down.
Workshop, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah. It's that took me a while to kind of confess to.
And he loved playing the video games before he got this role. And you can tell that he's just reveling in the role itself. The last thing to note is this is a one-take fight scene, and they can always be incredible if executed properly. And the execution here is perfect. Extraction also revels in one takes. Extraction 2 has a great hand-to-hand combat and then a gun combat one-take scene that lasts for 21 minutes, from prison to train. And this car chase scene from the first Extraction film is, while CGI-laden, is a spectacle to behold. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning 1, or whatever they want to call it now, also has an incredible car chase sequence through the streets of Rome. And car chases can be just as visceral and as wonderful as a great fight scene. You can check out this series on this channel called Bad Movie Car Chases vs. Good Movie Car Chases to see some of cinema's best ever chases. Now, in the last video after my 80s shootout montage, which you guys seem to love, I asked you to tell me the name of your favourite 80s action star. And it seems like many of you opted not to name a star, but certainly loved Die Hard, with a couple of you pointing out the McClane versus Carl scene, especially for hand-to-hand combat. A nice scene despite the sound effects and the overbearing music. Maybe we'll analyse the scene properly in another volume. The 80s were the peak of the Cold War era, the US versus the USSR, and Captain America Winter Soldier leans into that narrative beautifully.
Fracture detected.
This scene is great, and probably is going to be covered in the car chases videos.
Window integrity 19%. Offensive measures advised.
Wait!
Window integrity 1%.
Now!
But this scene, I could wax lyrical about forever. But the last two volumes from this series were slightly longer than I anticipated, and I'm trying to keep this one short. The Winter Soldier from the start of this film is seen as an unbeatable force. And then when Black Widow is injured by him and her fear kicks in, as does ours, maybe the Winter Soldier is an unbeatable force. But as you know, that won't scare Cap. This fight is incredible. Little moments like this, and look at the physics here. Cap has his neck squeezed. And then, in the next moment, the ground is smashed by the same arm. It just shows how strong both characters are. Chris Evans did a lot of his own stunts for this scene, which makes the scene even more believable. Now, I often criticize movies that have an over-reliance on music to convey emotions. I love that this scene tails off the music and becomes just sounds towards the end. Then we have our big reveal.
Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky?
And I love these two moments after, where Cap has to be saved by Falcon and then by Black Widow, because he loves Bucky, aka Winter Soldier, just too much. However, when it comes to Black Widow, it's not all good. Because the 2021 flop Black Widow was full of pretty bad fight scenes, low energy narrative, and a waste of a great character like the Taskmaster. And what preceded this scene was this, which is some of the worst CGI ever committed to a movie of such scope. But the fight, firstly on this awful CGI background, is just so low energy. And then the aftermath doesn't fare much better. Terrible CG sword, seems like a terrible CG model swinging on the back of the Taskmaster, and then it commits the ultimate movie fight sin. The, oh no, I'm a good guy, but being made to do bad things, but now I'm finally awake trope. Simply terrible. For years, comic book movies were hard to get right. Superman did it well in the 70s, Batman did it okay in the 80s, and even better in the 90s.
Meow.
And the early 2000s gave us this awesome scene.
Here's your change!
But perhaps this scene is even better. It's from the Zack Snyder 2009 movie Watchmen, based on the comic book novel by Alan Moore. This is the opening scene of the movie and kicks things off with a bang. This scene shares a lot of similarities with this scene from 300. The speed ramping, the slow-mo, the focus on impact. It's an impressive piece of technical work, a visual treat. It must be said that, ultimately, the scene is spectacle over substance. The use of the off-kilt music, the stylized and maybe sometimes over-stylized CG, and the fact that this fight happens so early into the film and it carries little to no narrative weight to the viewer. Having said that, as spectacles go in movies, this is top notch. Which leads us nicely onto another spectacle. In the last volume of this series, I asked you which anime have the best fight scenes. And you guys gave so many suggestions, so thank you for that. I would say too many suggestions. I got completely overwhelmed. I shall definitely check out some of them really soon. But, however, a few people recommended this scene from the Cowboy Bebop movie. Spike versus Electro.
Both hands up in the air.
And there's so much to admire here.
Turn around.
The playfulness of it, well, at least from Spike anyway, who's always playful. The choreography, the typical for Cowboy Bebop music, the animation and the use of the scenery as a weapon.
Tell me what you're doing here.
Let's flip a coin. Heads I tell you, tails we go out on a date.
Cowboy Bebop works brilliantly as anime.
Are all the employees here like you?
The Netflix show didn't seem to have the same impact though.
What do you say, fellas? You want to team up?
Now, in the comments, what films and TV shows have the worst fight scenes? As always, the love you guys have shown recently for the series is just simply unmatched. So thank you very much. And which of the fights did you think was the best in this volume, and which bad and good movie fights should I cover next? Let me know in the comments. Now, I do read all the comments, so feel free to comment whatever thoughts you have. New volume coming next Sunday. Please subscribe and hit that notification button to be notified when the next volume is out. This has been Bad Movie Fights versus Good Movie Fights, Volume 6.
Let their blood rain from